my friend said to me, I want to get regret tattooed backwards on my forehead, because if I ever ask myself why anyone would get a tattoo, I can just look in the mirror and I say to him, well, then I can just regret knowing you and inform you of this every 2 minutes. Then it'll be like you have a living, breathing tattoo walking around. I haven't seen my friend in a while. Let there be something linear my possibility retains. What is there left? I'm become a name. Died the ghost. Would have kept me there outside of names. Newspaper discoveries elucidate the common man no more. We spring to electric blocks at the first sight of some new shit happening. Ask 25th Hand with the latest update on catastrophe from friends. Or go about nothing at all but in books. Some of them pretty old. I suppose that's the paradox of this century. That with increasing celerity the technological horn is drunk, an endless horn. And the chugging beast wakens others to either do their reading on a tablet or take pretty hard to the words on and of a page. If one subscribes to the belief that everything can be described in words, one eventually finds something for which there are no words. And to accept that is what gives those objects and events a meaning in the mind that is clearly seen. But only in the mind. And to accept that is what gives those objects and events a meaning in the mind that is clearly seen, but only in the mind, and secures us in a more lucid reality or dimension or something. Paradoxically, to assume a word for something without is to deny the thing or things of meaning and enclose one in the dark. In other words, the nameless object, when one assumes they can apply a name for it, outside the nameless object, in their heads, one that can actually be arranged in English, that is, will dishonor that known muddy primitive in us. Muddy primitive, packaged behind the security of our ribs as a remoter union, understood between us and all grand space and time. The appliance of some foreign quiddity in us, an intimate though unplaced control. It pulses without instincts of the heart. Peremptory. Shaken with some generous physical vibration of that universe and the laughter of our glinting, powerful blood that likens us to cosmic certainty and seeps like something vague into perception, like a benevolent gas, maintaining ignorance, transferring answers to questions, rife within our speckled and imperfect eyes. This is the truth of the object. It is nameless because that is what it is. And what to say about the things we do not see in our heads and do not see in front of us? Surely such things are nameless too. I looked at my hands, down at them, and saw them dimly in the deep night. I then put them to my face and rubbed my cheeks from the cold. By then I had gone outside for a cigarette on his porch at the house of a friend and found myself alone. After some chick had made vacuous small talk with me for around 2 minutes. She left after she was done. with her cigarette, without saying, "See you later." And that made me feel insignificant, but not overly so. I got to thinking about my hands and how the veins were fat and blue on them. Much of these hands created, I told myself. Much of they felt for me. But as me? So we get to that point in time, that is right now, starting once again from where I started. That is with the cold nights. And me rubbing my cheeks and feeling the encroaching briskness. Nightfall. The day, by some weird meteorological stint, had been rather warm. It were as though the cold had all day waited to reveal, to make up for the day's pleasantness and give the grass frost for the morning to turn into dew. So yes, my hands, they were good hands. Yes, I told myself, nimble, interestingly shaped hands that had created much. As cold nights usually make thoughts harder to rouse, I quit further examination on the matter for the moment. Though I would find, as like how I started again with the start, that I would return by the end of this poem to the subject I had pursued before quitting further examination. Suddenly I began to think about the girl who had left. At least she should have said something in the form of a farewell, even though she probably was inside at this very moment and I'd see her again. Acquaintances are like that. The degrees of separation being 6 calls for a less dire need to expand the circumference of knowledge regarding the life of who your friend knows, since indeed you'll see them later. We'll have more time to learn about the acquaintance. You'll simply see your friend. And your friend hangs out with whoever person is frequently, if not more than you. Yes, these hands have created much, but they are as familiar to me as an acquaintance, somehow. As though they'd moved for another individual that sometimes I saw, sometimes. And yet whoever it was these my hands belonged to would so distantly know me as to pay no mind to those very social niceties. Usually, paradoxically, reserved for those people known a little, yet known enough to cross over into the berms of cordiality, enough to facilitate a goodbye. My hands were my friends. Yes! And I've created much with them, and yet they work for another soul. Indeed, a soul who, while bothering to kill the silence between myself and itself, with chatter on a cold, isolated fall night, still does not, or perhaps refuses that goodbye, before parting with me once again. Until the next fleeting moment, when perhaps that god of my thoughts might manifest itself in the soul of a bored 20-something. Standing looking out at a cluster of branches courtesy of the Swenson residents at Flatbush, you ask me if life lives itself for us. Fairly, the will is not to display bleakness, she says. I can't seem to get enough of that choking feeling, like the brain's addled, you know. I say, of course it is. Transfers the nasty crumpling of mine like sooty paper with rolled drum ciggies to your throat. Just don't assume too much power to solipsism. Feelings for feelings as if a barter system. Give and take. Needed to happen to feel alright. I say, with all this stirring in my own brains choking. I don't know. Cast off most of what I had in mind to say with a shrug. Remark as you dip your head to shelter eyes with straight black hair that all is for peace of mind. Shrug and find the drugs you take to have inspired you less. Once the need presents itself, to which we will always will away from expressing the need to be back in the New York of some diamond's day. Some silly prayers shrug. Though that marvelously lends what thoughts to the wayside to the god of bafflement. The strain, the choke, the chain. I know I know you like leather. But the weather's good. And tonight on this fire escape we view the urban vegetation with a sense of peace for the width of life. That we are free to be eloquent. Someday, some wisdom there, wild in the chest's naughtiness, the kindred guts of ware tearing inside, us locked in secret derision. Ashamed for at this point no reason but to apprehend those gods, we shrugged off, thinking it a supplication, a sacrifice of thinking for the sake, the thoughts at least, that we adorn our veritableness inside, free us from the bounds of... What? Vagary! Lost limits and therefore insanity, sprung out into the wild void our chest evokes. The knots in it do. But this crew in Flatbush, they have their zombie talk, they have their music, they're cavorting. We have music. We have music, but only secretly. We show no one else. Or you don't. I don't know about me. No others who are similar better, since I'm a void by default. And I told my girlfriend this, there can be only one type of void, you know. So by default, similar people we are, I guess. I was related to the awkwardness. Too much stance. Too much of something, given supplication to the dance of society. A play. Wage war on the prayer. It will pray back until a nutty solar unit of stars is left to choking itself, and everything you value so much, lost in the plumes, is left for the throat to fill to the brim. Beyond a prim nudging too much, gummy obviousness. When all I want to say is, I value this. And you. Tonight got squared with him tomorrow. Supposedly I'd get bills finally. Nothing came of it though, and we end up broke. The boyfriend of some chick I want to screw with blue eyes shows up. Ends up having cash. So we tow cash. Fuck it. Grope later. For now I wish I could booze it. Fill the solo cup. Drill brains, maybe. To kill pains and lose it. Follow the Dutch and look at my fake Rolo watch every 5 minutes. Take dinner at some diner at 5 in the morning, but I don't ever feel alive in these haunts. Throat's itchy from too many ciggy snacks. The dude backs off to bed, waiting for blue eyes to give head before it's sunny. His voice, grating. Couldn't get it out of my mind. Much less your mind. Blue eyes. And he tried to light everyone's hit from the bowl with a hemp string. Some king, I guess. But really it's my loss. I doze off and find waking that she's gone to bed with him. Feeling stressed off the perks. I'm slightly nauseous. It's 6. And I can hear the sex in the other room. Boss her for favors to relieve his ex, the meaningless doom, or rather doom of meaninglessness, breathless. It's 6 and all I can think of is clouds and ocean. Imagine a postcard, call my friend, no pickup. Retard. Chasm. Can't sleep without this noisy orgasm. Phlegm, coughs, to relieve the itch in throat for a moment with a stop in it instead. I close my eyes reluctantly. Drape over my coat in a funny position on the sort of couch thing, lounging apparatus, whatever. Fuck that fucking king. I never did end up getting that money, and by now tomorrow's fully squared, situated there. Stuff like mitigating factors. Active addiction. Congeal around my mind like crud around an old man's mouth. And the real actor, meanwhile, styles himself. Ultimate bowl torture. humane. Yeah, you're the man. Lame. I wake up myself already, only half asleep anyway, with the scoff. Doff mind have run off. Real momentary sleepy havoc. Its stomach. Leave lovebirds to live between brutally paper-thin dorm walls. It's a scorcher. Hot as balls. And looking for a form, I find myself to have been and get sick. The word faker goes on in my mind's damaging. I'm still the real king, though, the fucking res, and can light my own damn weed, thank you. Give your giving to Blue Eyes and let me scrape resin. The light of shitty sun gives it to me when I make it back to my own dorm room. Lay on a sheetless mattress, force cry. Fill the pages with ruin, blind ire. For what do I run to the bathroom? To assume all this as nothing but pitch blend that makes me shit lumpy fire out of my ass's bleeding guts. Thinking of an uneven, unbelievable pretend. This some odd shit. Adult playground. All this illness ends rottenly. With me being too tired and skipping class again. Shaping doom like art from my ass. Clipping blunts. And carefully at that, carefully. For the sake of my broke self. Health of a waxing self. A fire in the self. Made waiting shit. Spurious. Resigned. I glossed over too much when I had too much plenty. Lost that with too many chances to find, to recognize a chance at all. Anymore. Dusting off another clip under bed. I tried to dust off what since the sense of mission came about, drugs had made suspicious instead. I wish to find. Really? Perhaps so as to pardon myself of sins of idleness and too much damned capital. And think this, at this point with not a pretense of ease there, I beg this, sitting up, to light the clip. I think thoughts. Please bind. Please bind. If only the drag of drags were a kiss to me the way it might be fitting for another mind. Enough. Enough. For that blessed perspective in that cranium. Too out of complacence, ignorance, and wise at that. To slaughter. As quick as my water weight will shave off itself in slugs of sweat for the rest of that hot afternoon. Shit! I lost my watch. Paper-thin walls, inhumanly guttural moans of a throat from overfed white people, a throaty mess groping to croon.